I saw it with my own eyes, my wife, her hands cupping a man's head, her lips puckered and leaning in, just 2 inches from his face. That was the moment I lost every shred of control I had. I didn't think, didn't hesitate, I charged over and pummeled both of them until my arms ached. Afterward, with swollen faces and blackened eyes, they swore up and down I'd gotten it all wrong. They said something had flown into his eye, and she was just trying to blow it out for him. Really? Did they think I was born yesterday? I wasn't buying that nonsense for a single second. But then, fate decided to throw my own stupid move right back in my face. One day, my wife's best friend started choking on her food. I had her bend over the couch, stood behind her, wrapped my arms around her waist, and pumped upward again and again, the Heimlich maneuver. Right at that exact moment, my wife walked through the front door and caught us in that position. She burst into tears and lunged at her friend, and I had to physically hold her back. "Nina's choking, I'm doing the Heimlich," I yelled. My wife's eyes were bloodshot, and she screamed in total breakdown. This is the first damn time in my life I've ever seen someone do the Heimlich maneuver completely naked. It was 6:50 p.m., and I pulled into the underground garage like any other day. On the passenger seat sat a cake box decorated with golden chestnuts from Helen's favorite old bakery. And I'd driven 2 extra miles just to get it. 3 years of marriage, and I thought I was a decent husband. I'd built my company from scratch, we'd gone from a shoebox apartment to a luxury high-rise. I always believed that once I married her, I'd spend the rest of my life treating her right. The elevator dinged at the 23rd floor, I unlocked the door, stepped inside and froze cold in the entryway. A pair of dark brown men's dress shoes, size 42, sat neatly beside the rack. They weren't mine. Besides Helen and me, only our housekeeper Mary had a key, and she left at 5 every day. Helen didn't have many friends, and people rarely visited, especially not at this hour. Without even changing my shoes, I quietly carried the cake box inside. The living room glowed with warm yellow light, and some mindless romance drama played on TV with the volume turned low. A thin man in a white dress shirt sat on the couch facing me. And Helen stood right in front of him, both hands holding his head, leaning closer and closer. When their noses were barely 2 inches apart, she stopped and slowly puckered her lips. Time froze. The cake box flew out of my hand and smacked straight into their faces. "Stop right there!" I roared. Helen and the man spun around, panic stamped all over their faces. His glasses had slipped to the tip of his nose, showing a pair of startled eyes. Helen's lips were still puckered, and the sight made my blood boil. I shoved Helen aside, she stumbled back, crashed into the coffee table, nearly toppling it. "Disgusting," I spat, pointing at them, shaking with rage. "Making out in my living room while I'm not home, Helen, you've got some nerve." "Honey, you've got it all wrong, let me explain, it's not what you think," she waved frantically, her face drained white. I saw it with my own eyes, what the hell is there to explain? I grabbed the man by the collar and yanked him off the couch. He was half a head shorter than me, skinny as a rail, and couldn't resist at all. "Who the hell are you?" I slammed my fist into his face. "Damn it," he cried out, his glasses shattered, and blood spread across his decent-looking face. "Stop. Please stop." Helen threw herself at me, grabbing my arm. "Oscar, calm down, that's Mario, my childhood neighbor. This is his first day visiting us." "Mario?" I let out a cold laugh and punched him in the other cheek. "So being a neighbor gives you the right to kiss my wife in my house? What's next, a couple more days and you'll be sleeping in my bed?" "No, that's not it, it really isn't." Helen was crying now. "Something got in his eye, I was just helping blow it out." "Blow it out?" I laughed like I'd just heard the biggest joke of my life. I threw Mario back onto the couch, climbed on top of him, yanked off my size 45 shoe, and swung it straight at his face. "So you were blowing something out of his eye, huh?" Smack, the sole landed square across his face. "I'll give you something to blow on." Whack, another hit. "I'll let you blow all you want." Every strike carried my full strength. Mario's face swelled before my eyes. Blood streamed from his nose, mixing with cake frosting, leaving him in a pathetic mess. "Oscar, stop, you're going to kill him." Helen wrapped both arms around mine, trying to pull me away. I shook her off, and she crashed to the floor again. "Honey, please, I swear it's all a misunderstanding." She dropped to her knees, crawled over, and grabbed my pant leg. "He really got sand in his eye, I was only helping him blow it out. Nothing happened between us." "A misunderstanding?" I looked down at her, my heart ice cold. "A married woman and another man, alone in my house, faces inches apart, lips puckered, and you call that a misunderstanding? Helen, do you seriously think I'm a 3-year-old? I raised my foot, ready to kick Mario again. Sir, please stop. Mary rushed out of the kitchen, still holding a spatula, her face pale. Mary, thank goodness you're here. Helen looked like she'd found a lifeline. Tell Oscar what happened. Didn't Mario get something in his eye? Wasn't I helping him blow it out? Mary glanced at Mario's battered face, then at me, and slowly nodded. Yes, sir. Mr. Mario was smoking on the balcony, something blew into his eye. Mrs. Helen really was helping him blow it out. I froze for a second, then my anger surged even higher. So now you're helping her lie to me too? Who pays your salary, and you're conspiring with outsiders to fool me? I'm not lying, sir. Mary looked ready to cry. There's security footage, the living room camera recorded everything. Right, the living room had a camera. I'd installed it years ago to deter burglars, never imagining it would be used for this. I released Mario and walked over to the TV console. A few taps later, the surveillance footage began playing, rewinding 10 minutes. On screen, Mario walked in from the balcony, rubbing his eye, saying something to Helen. She nodded, and then came the exact scene I'd witnessed. She really was blowing something out of his eye. The evidence was undeniable, but instead of calming me down, it made me even angrier. See? Helen let out a sigh of relief and approached me. I told you it was a misunderstanding, why wouldn't you trust me? She reached for my hand, I jerked it away. A misunderstanding? Helen, do you have any concept of boundaries between men and women? Boundaries? She looked genuinely confused. He's practically family, we grew up together. What's wrong with helping him with his eye? Practically family? I scoffed. He's the kid from next door, since when does that make him family? Even actual siblings should know how to respect boundaries. What did I do wrong? Her voice rose. I didn't do anything. I helped him with his eye, that's it. Does that really justify you losing your mind and beating him half to death? I turned toward Mario. He sat on the couch clutching his face, wincing, his whole head swollen, eyes reduced to narrow slits. Honestly, I probably had gone a little too far, but I didn't regret it. He had it coming, I said coldly. He knows you're married, that alone means he should have kept his distance. If something got into his eye, why couldn't he rinse it out in the bathroom? Why couldn't he use a cotton swab? Why did he need a married woman leaning in and blowing on it? He said he already tried those things. Helen lowered her voice. It didn't work. Mario finally looked up at me, resentment in his eyes, but even more fear. He opened his mouth as if to say something, but stayed silent. Enough, Helen sighed and walked over to him, carefully helping him to his feet. Are you okay? I'll take you to the hospital. Mario shook his head, his voice hoarse. I'm fine, my head's just ringing a little. Your face is swollen like a balloon and you're saying you're fine? Helen frowned. No, we're going to the hospital, what if he has a concussion? With that, she supported him and helped him out the door. I don't know how much time passed before I heard the front door unlock. Helen was back. Seeing that I was still awake, she walked over, composed herself, and spoke softly. Honey, you were way too impulsive today, you didn't even figure out what was happening before throwing punches. Mario ended up with a mild concussion. Fortunately, for my sake, he decided not to press charges. Do you know why I married you? I asked instead of responding to what she'd said. Probably because I'm pretty, she giggled and wrapped her arms around my neck. You already hit him. You already yelled at me, can you stop being so serious now? Your looks are only part of it, I looked at her. What mattered more to me was that your personal life was always clean, no ex-boyfriends, no messy relationships, and you always knew how to maintain proper boundaries with other men. So where exactly did this childhood neighbor suddenly come from? I don't care how close you two were as kids, you're married now. I want you to maintain the kind of boundaries adults are supposed to have. Okay, I was wrong, she nodded repeatedly. It's just that I hadn't seen an old friend in years. Today was his first day after moving here. I promise I won't do that again. Then she smiled sweetly. Honey, your birthday is the day after tomorrow. I paid a fortune to a ticket reseller and got us 2 front-row tickets to your favorite singer's concert. I'm practically begging for forgiveness here, can you please stop being mad? I glanced at her but kept a stern face. Honey, her voice turned syrupy sweet, and she pressed her body against mine, rubbing playfully. I came up with a new position, how about we? A new position? Now that caught my attention. I scooped her up into my arms and headed toward the bedroom. Oof. I'm not letting you off so easily tonight. Soon, my birthday arrived. I'd been looking forward to it for over a week. Helen had bought 2 concert tickets, front row seats in the intersection. The price wasn't even the impressive part. The real miracle was actually getting them. Helen was a huge fan of the singer too. She'd always wanted to attend one of his concerts, but every time, either the tickets sold out instantly or she was too busy to go. She wanted to surprise me. She'd even requested time off from work so we could spend the entire day together. At exactly 8 o'clock that morning, I woke up. The spot beside me was already empty. After getting dressed, I walked into the living room and found Helen on the phone, sounding anxious. "Okay, CEO Wang, I understand, I'll head over right away." She hung up, and the moment she saw me, guilt appeared on her face. "Honey, I'm sorry." She walked over and took my hand. "Something urgent came up at work. CEO Wang needs me to come in. I probably won't be able to spend your birthday with you today." I froze. "Weren't all your plans already arranged? How can work suddenly come up?" She sighed. "This project has always been my responsibility. Now there's a problem, and nobody else understands the details. It has to be me." Then she added, "Don't worry, I'll be back as soon as possible. It's just a shame we won't be able to go to the concert. I'll see if I can get the tickets refunded. Tonight I'll have Mary prepare a huge dinner, and when I come back, I'll bring you a birthday gift too, okay?" What kind of emergency is so urgent that it can't wait until tomorrow? I couldn't help complaining. We've been looking forward to this concert for a long time. I tried many times to persuade her not to keep working as an executive at that company. I told her she could come help me instead. Every time, she'd say the same thing. Once my company became bigger, she'd come back. For now, staying there allowed her to help me from time to time. "No, it can't wait," she shook her head. "The client needs an answer today. Work comes first. Besides, concerts happen every year." She picked up her purse and kissed me on the cheek. "Be good, honey, wait for me at home. Love you." Then she hurried out the door. That evening, after Mary finished preparing dinner, I told her to clean up and head home. The dining table was covered with dishes, every one of them our favorites. 6:30 came, the time Helen had promised she'd be back. She didn't return. 7 o'clock, still nothing. At 7:30, I called her, no answer. I called again, still no answer. I tossed my phone onto the couch, leaned back, and closed my eyes. Then suddenly, the doorbell rang. I immediately opened my eyes. Was Helen finally home? But she had both a key and fingerprint access. Why would she ring the bell? Was she carrying a gift and couldn't open the door? I got to my feet and quickly walked to the entrance. When I opened the door, the person standing outside wasn't Helen. It was Nina, Helen's best friend and the maid of honor at our wedding. She was wearing a white dress and subtle yet elegant makeup. Holding a pink cake box, she looked stunning. Even someone like me, who was no stranger to beautiful women, couldn't help being momentarily stunned. "Oscar, happy birthday." She smiled brightly, revealing 2 adorable dimples. I blinked. "Nina, what are you doing here?" "Helen sent me." She walked inside and placed the cake box on the dining table. "She said the situation at work might take longer than expected. She was worried she'd ruin your birthday, so she asked me to bring your gift over first." She pulled an exquisitely wrapped gift box from her purse and handed it to me. "This is the gift Helen picked out for you. She said you'd definitely love it." I opened the box. Inside was a beautiful watch, the exact model I'd been eyeing for months. "Helen really cares about you," Nina smiled. "She spent a small fortune on that watch. Well, my mission is complete." She picked up her purse and prepared to leave. "Wait," I stopped her. "What is it?" She turned around, looking puzzled. "If Helen can't make it back, why don't you stay and have dinner with me?" I shrugged. "I doubt you've eaten yet, right?" If she dropped off the gift and left immediately, it would feel like we treated her like a delivery service. Besides, spending my birthday alone felt depressing. Having someone to talk to wouldn't be a bad thing. Nina agreed without hesitation. "Sure, I won't say no to free food," she laughed. "And you're right, I haven't eaten yet." She took off her coat, draped it over a chair, and sat down. "Oh, by the way," I searched for a conversation topic. "You know that my favorite singer has a concert at the stadium tonight?" "Of course." Nina's eyes lit up immediately. "I absolutely love him. Too bad getting tickets is nearly impossible." Helen had managed to get 2 tickets, but unfortunately, she'd ended up refunding them. I picked up the remote and turned on the television. A paid live broadcast of the concert appeared on the screen. If we can't be there in person, the live stream will have to do. Wow! Nina's face brightened with excitement. This camera angle is practically front row. She stared at the screen, singing along to every song, waving her arms and dancing in her seat like an excited kid. Watching her enthusiasm, I found my own mood improving. Soon, the concert began, familiar melodies filled the room, and Nina sang along, her energy infectious. I couldn't help smiling as I watched her. Nina had a cheerful, outgoing personality, completely different from Helen. Helen was gentle, quiet, and often emotional. Nina, on the other hand, was straightforward, energetic, and never hid what she was thinking. Truthfully, I'd always liked Nina's personality. She said exactly what was on her mind, no games, no pretending. The kind of person who made the perfect friend. The concert was about halfway through when it reached the classic couples interaction segment. The giant screen began randomly scanning the audience. Whenever a couple was selected, they had to kiss in front of everyone. Soon, the first couple appeared on the screen, two college students. The singer smiled and asked, "Did you come here together?" "Yes." "So you're dating?" The two nodded shyly. "Then let's see a kiss." The couple quickly pecked each other on the lips before pulling apart in embarrassment. The crowd erupted in cheers, and the girl buried her face in her boyfriend's chest. The second pair was a middle-aged married couple. They kissed openly, earning another round of applause. Then came the third pair. To everyone's surprise, it was two men, one a heavily muscled gym guy, the other with short hair, a round face, and a thick beard. The host laughed. "So, did you two come together?" They nodded. "And are you a couple?" They nodded again. The entire venue exploded with even louder cheers. "Kiss! Kiss! Kiss!" The two men exchanged a grin, then immediately pulled their shirts over their heads so nobody could see them. "Holy crap," I laughed. "Whoever's running that camera definitely knows what they're doing." Ha ha ha. Nina nearly doubled over laughing. How is this even allowed on live TV? At that moment, the giant screen started moving again in search of the next lucky audience members, then it stopped. The smiles instantly froze on both my face and Nina's. Because the two people displayed on the giant screen were none other than Helen and Mario. They were sitting in the front section, close to the stage. Helen wore a beautiful floral dress, a bright smile on her face. Mario sat beside her, turned slightly toward her, the way he looked at her so tender it practically dripped affection. My head buzzed. For a moment, everything went blank. So this was the urgent business she'd talked about. This was where she had gone. She had lied to me. Not only had she lied to me, but she had gone to the concert I'd been looking forward to for weeks with another man. The host's voice echoed from the television. "Wow, what a gorgeous couple. Hello there, did you two come together?" Helen and Mario nodded at the same time. "And are you a couple?" Helen immediately waved her hands and smiled awkwardly. Before she could answer, Mario took the microphone. "Not yet." The answer instantly caught everyone's attention. The host grinned. "Oh, the way you said that makes it sound like there's still hope." Mario nodded, his eyes fixed on Helen. "I missed a lot of opportunities in the past. Now I'd like to make up for those regrets." Helen looked completely stunned. She covered her mouth, her eyes widening in shock, the disbelief on her face impossible to miss. She remained frozen for nearly 10 seconds before finally reacting. Quickly, she grabbed Mario's arm. "Mario, what are you doing? Don't joke around like that, there are thousands of people watching. Come on." Mario refused to back down. "Just play along with me this once." "No," Helen shook her head, a faint blush coloring her cheeks. "I can't really, I can't." Mario continued trying to persuade her. Helen kept rejecting him politely. Eventually, the host laughed awkwardly and steered the conversation elsewhere before moving on to another audience pair. The concert continued. The songs were still beautiful, but I couldn't hear any of them anymore. "Why is Helen there?" Nina's voice was filled with disbelief. "She told me she had an emergency at work." She turned toward me, concern written all over her face. "Oscar, are you okay?" I tried to smile. I couldn't. "I'm fine," my voice was calm. At least Helen didn't say yes. Nina hurried to smooth things over. "This Mario guy is unbelievable. He knows she's married, and he still makes a confession like that in public. He's just making things awkward for her. I'm sure he was joking." "Don't take it to heart." "A joke?" I let out a cold laugh, my voice turning icy. "If that's his idea of a joke, then maybe I should have a little fun with him too." Nina stayed and talked with me for a while longer. She was surprisingly good at comforting people. Once she saw that my mood had stabilized somewhat, she glanced at her watch. "It's getting late, I should head home." I walked her downstairs. The night outside was already dark. Be careful on the way back, she nodded. Go back upstairs, and if Helen isn't around in the future, you can always call me if you need anything. After seeing her off, I went back inside, locked the door from the inside, turned off my phone, and went to bed. I slept straight through until morning. After breakfast, I opened the door and found Helen sitting outside, hugging her knees, resting her head on them, asleep. The nights were still chilly, her shoulders were hunched from the cold, and she was shivering slightly. She looked pitiful, but honestly, I thought she deserved it. The sound of the door woke her up. She sneezed several times, then tried to stand, but her legs had gone numb. She stretched out a hand toward me. Honey, how did you sleep so deeply last night? I nearly screamed, my throat raw, and you never heard me. Eventually I got too tired to keep knocking and fell asleep out here. She waited for me to help her up. When I didn't move, confusion filled her face. What's wrong, honey? What's wrong? I looked at her coldly. Didn't someone confess his feelings to you yesterday? I figured you weren't coming home. I assumed you went off to spend the night with him. The color immediately drained from her already pale face. Honey. She panicked. Please listen to me, you've really got the wrong idea. There really was a work emergency. It just so happened that Mario knew someone who could help coordinate things, so I asked him for assistance. That made everything go much smoother, and since I had 2 concert tickets, I invited him as a thank you. Another misunderstanding. For the first time since our marriage, I called her by her full name. Helen, do you think I'm an idiot? Do you seriously expect me to believe a lie this childish? Helen visibly panicked. She immediately took out her phone and called her assistant, asking for the meeting records from the previous day. Not long afterward, a video arrived. The footage showed that they really had spent part of the day in meetings solving work-related issues. But it didn't reduce my anger in the slightest. Then what about the public confession at the concert? Helen hurriedly defended herself. I turned him down. You call that turning him down? I laughed bitterly. That weak, half-hearted rejection, to a man, that just means try harder next time. Helen looked wronged. But I did reject him. What else was I supposed to do? You should have slapped him. I stared directly into her eyes. You should have told the entire arena that you're married. You should have made it crystal clear. Instead, you gave him room to keep dreaming. But. Helen hesitated. There were so many people there. I didn't want to embarrass him in front of everyone. What about me? My voice suddenly rose. What about my dignity? There were tens of thousands of people in that arena. What if someone we know saw it? What if friends or relatives recognized you? One person tells 10 people, 10 people tell 100, then everyone knows some guy publicly confessed to my wife. Do I just have no dignity left? By the end, I was practically shouting. Helen was genuinely frightened, tears streaming down her face. What do you want me to do? She sobbed. I answered without hesitation. I want a divorce. The way you've been acting gives me zero sense of security. Who knows when I'll end up being the last person to find out I'm being cheated on? Helen immediately broke down. No, I won't divorce you. It's all been a misunderstanding. Of course she refused. I had expected that. It didn't matter. I had plenty of ways to make her agree. I went straight to my company, sat behind my desk, lit a cigarette, and picked up my phone. Then I called my assistant. Leo, look into someone for me. His name is Mario. I want everything. The more detailed, the better. Work performance, personal relationships, any scandals, anything that can be used against him. I want the report on my desk within an hour. Understood, boss. The call ended. I stared at the phone with an icy expression. So you wanted to make up for your regrets? Fine. I'll make sure the rest of your life is nothing but regrets. A little after 3 in the afternoon, Leo sent Mario's file to my email. I opened the message and read through it carefully. Mario came from a poor rural family. Life hadn't been easy for him growing up, but he had always worked hard. He earned his way into a prestigious university and after graduation, joined his current company. To be fair, he was good at his job. He had climbed the ladder step by step until he became a department manager. This overseas assignment as the person in charge was also a sign that the company viewed him as a key talent worth developing. As I looked through the information, a cold smile curled across my lips. Some people just insist on walking straight into disaster. I organized the documents. Part of them I anonymously sent to their headquarters. The rest I forwarded to several well-known entertainment gossip bloggers. Then I spent a little money hiring online promoters to make sure the story gained traction on the internet. After heading downstairs, I called Nina. I was in a good mood today, it was worth celebrating with a drink. Hello, Oscar, Nina's voice sounded especially gentle. Are you free today? Want to have a drink with me? I am. Send me the location and I'll be there right away. Half an hour later, I met a carefully dressed up Nina at a bar. What, you're getting divorced? She asked, staring at me in shock. It's true, I smiled, poured her a glass of wine, and told her everything that had happened. You're really ruthless, you know that? Nina rolled her eyes at me playfully. Have you thought about what this will do to them? Mario deserves it, sure, but what about Helen? Don't you think this might be too much for her? Have you considered how much damage this could do to her work and personal life? Did they consider me when they were doing what they did? Nina wanted to say something else, but I raised my glass and cut her off. Let's not ruin the mood, come on, let's drink. Alright, I'll drink with you. By the time we finished, it was already late in the afternoon. Nina helped me out of the bar. I'm not taking you home, she said. If Helen sees us together, she'll get the wrong idea. I'll get you a hotel room instead so you can rest. Okay, I nodded. Nina booked a room at a nearby hotel. After helping me onto the bed, she poured me a glass of water and placed it on the nightstand. Get some sleep, you'll feel better when you wake up, she said. Call me if you need anything. My head was spinning. The moment I lay down, I fell asleep. When I woke up, it was already nighttime. My head still ached. I picked up my phone and realized it had died. After plugging it in and turning it back on, countless unread messages and missed calls flooded in. Most of them were from Helen. There were also several messages from Nina asking whether I was awake and whether I had eaten. I replied, telling her I was awake and fine. She responded instantly, check TikTok. So I opened TikTok. On the local trending list, the topic company executive Mario confesses his love to a married woman at a concert had already climbed to the #1 spot. I tapped on it. The comments section was full of people tearing Mario apart. Homewreckers can get lost. Wait, he's not even in the entertainment industry. Fine, then get out of the workplace. He knew she was married and still confessed publicly. Does he have no shame? And that woman isn't innocent either. If she really wanted to reject him, she should have slapped him on the spot instead of acting all shy and hesitant. Some people had already dug up Mario's identity along with various scandals from his time at the company, harassing female subordinates, taking kickbacks. The corners of my mouth twitched upward. Looks like hiring those online promoters had been money well spent. How is someone like this still allowed to be in charge? Is the company blind? They should fire him immediately before he contaminates the workplace. Public outrage was exploding. Just then, I received a message from Leo. Boss, Mario's headquarters has already released a statement. They've formed an investigation team to look into the allegations. During the investigation, Mario has been suspended from all duties. This was only the beginning. Sooner or later, I would make sure he couldn't survive in this city. That so-called phoenix who flew out of the mountains, I'd make him fly straight back where he came from. I would make sure he lost everything, his reputation, his career, every last thing he had. The next morning, shortly after I arrived at the office, Leo walked in. Latest update, Mario has already been fired, he said. The investigation team from headquarters confirmed the bribery allegations and his inappropriate relationship with a married woman. The evidence was solid. They terminated him immediately and even circulated a notice throughout the industry. I doubt he'll have an easy time finding another job. Got it, I nodded, my expression unchanged. It was exactly the outcome I had expected. There's more, Leo continued. The online backlash is still growing. People are tearing him apart everywhere. His personal information has been exposed, and now he's too afraid to even leave his house. Good, don't stop the online campaign. I'm very satisfied with the results. Keep watching the situation and report any new developments immediately. Online harassment was one of the most effective ways to break a person's spirit. Some victims end up suffering from depression. Others, with weaker mental resilience, could be pushed to the brink. Things were only starting to work. There was no reason to stop now. Understood. Leo left the office. I sat behind my desk, staring at the computer screen, without the slightest emotional reaction. He had brought this upon himself. If he had stayed in his lane and kept his hands off Helen, someone as young as him already running a branch office would have had a limitless future ahead. Around noon, my phone rang. It was Helen again. After a moment's hesitation, I answered. Oscar. Her voice was hoarse, thick with tears. Was it you who sent those materials to the internet and to his company? Who else would it have been? I admitted openly. Why would you do this? She shouted emotionally. Oscar, why are you trying to destroy him completely? Do you know how hard Mario and I worked to get where we are today? We both came from poor rural backgrounds, we climbed our way up step by step. You know how much effort it took, and because of one misunderstanding, you're going to ruin his entire life? One misunderstanding? I laughed, the sound was ice cold. Helen, you call confessing your love to a married woman a misunderstanding? Then maybe I should help him have a few more misunderstandings. But he's already been fired, his reputation is ruined. Please stop, honey. She broke down crying. Do you really have to drive him to death before you'll be satisfied? I'm driving him to death? I scoffed. Honestly, I don't have many options. The moment she heard that, hope crept into her voice. Honey, I knew you weren't that kind of person. You misunderstood, I cut her off coldly. Since the law doesn't allow me to strangle him myself, the only thing I can do is push him as close to the edge as possible. Then I hung up. I knew Helen would run straight to comfort Mario. I didn't care, we were practically divorced already. Whatever she chose to do had nothing to do with me anymore. That afternoon, while I was reviewing documents, my phone rang again. Helen, once more. I answered impatiently. What now? Oscar, something terrible happened. Her voice trembled with panic and tears. Mario jumped. What? For a moment, I thought I had misheard. I just renewed the budget for the online campaign. On top of that, I'd hired people to create scenes outside his house every day. If he'd already collapsed now, that money had practically gone to waste. I hadn't even really gotten started yet, and honestly, that robbed the whole thing of a lot of satisfaction. He jumped from the second floor of his house, she cried. He can't move right now, he may have broken some bones. I'm on my way to the hospital, please come with me. No, my voice remained cold, so he wasn't dead after all. Oscar! She practically screamed. He's jumped off a building, how can you be so heartless? If he truly wanted to kill himself, he would have jumped from the roof instead of the second floor, I analyzed calmly. The fact that he survived proves he never intended to die, he just wanted sympathy. And I'm not a doctor, is he magically going to recover because I show up? He jumped because of you, she shouted. If you hadn't exposed everything, he wouldn't have been fired, he wouldn't have reached this point. Oscar, you're a murderer. Think whatever you want, I couldn't be bothered arguing. If you're going, then go, just stop bothering me. I hung up again, then I blocked her number. Over the next few days, Helen didn't contact me again, she was probably busy taking care of Mario at the hospital. I heard both of his legs were broken, and even if he recovered, there would likely be lasting complications. A friendly reminder from Blue Sky Tech, being a homewrecker comes with risks, jumping off buildings should be approached with caution. I enjoyed the peace and quiet every day, I went to work, came home, watched movies, and played video games. Sometimes Nina would stop by, we'd go shopping together or grab Hot Pot, one of our shared favorites. Today was no different, I naturally dialed Nina's number. A friend gave me a piece of Wagyu today, come over tonight and I'll cook it for you. Sure, do you need me to bring anything? Just some fruit and snacks. Before long, Mary finished preparing dinner. Besides the steak, she had made 4 Chinese dishes and a soup, braised pork belly, sweet and sour ribs, cola chicken wings, garlic broccoli, and tomato egg soup. The meal was a perfect blend of East and West, the steak was just an occasional change of pace, Chinese food was still my favorite. Just as everything was ready, the doorbell rang. I opened the door to find Nina standing there with a large bag of fruit and snacks. Wow, it smells amazing, she exclaimed the moment she stepped inside. Oscar, Mary's cooking is incredible, everything looks so good. Of course, I grinned proudly. I hired her myself. We sat around the dining table, eating and chatting. After dinner, I told Mary she could head home. Nina volunteered to do the dishes. I didn't argue with her. Instead, I sat down on the living room couch and turned on the TV. An episode of Tom and Jerry was playing. It had been my favorite cartoon as a kid. Even now, I never got tired of watching it. After finishing the dishes, Nina came over and sat beside me. You like Tom and Jerry too? She asked in surprise. Yeah, I can watch it over and over. Me too, she said excitedly. Tom and Jerry are adorable. We watched together, laughing out loud every now and then. The atmosphere was relaxed and cheerful. I grabbed a bag of snacks from the coffee table and handed it to her. She accepted it, tore open the package, and popped a handful into her mouth. At that exact moment, a particularly funny scene came on. She burst out laughing and suddenly inhaled a piece of the snack into her throat. She grabbed her neck, her face turned bright red, she couldn't speak. Nina, what's wrong? Startled, I jumped to my feet. She pointed at her throat, then at the snack bag. I immediately understood, she was choking. Don't panic, I've got you. I quickly moved behind her, supporting herself against the couch. She leaned forward. I wrapped my arms around her from behind, placed a fist just above her navel, covered it with my other hand, and thrust inward and upward, once, twice, 3 times. With a sudden cough, the piece of food shot out. I let out a relieved breath. Nina bent over, coughing repeatedly until tears formed in her eyes. Are you okay? I patted her back with concern. I'm okay now, thanks to you, cough. She looked up at me, her cheeks were flushed pink. Only then did I realize that my hand was still resting on her waist. Her waist was slender and soft. We were standing so close that I could smell the faint scent of her perfume. The atmosphere suddenly became charged. I looked into her eyes, they sparkled as though stars were hidden inside them. She looked back at me, there was shyness in her gaze. Nervousness, and something else I couldn't quite identify. My heartbeat suddenly sped up, my breathing grew heavier. As if possessed, I leaned close to her ear and whispered, "Why is your face so red? Maybe there's still another piece stuck in your throat." I paused, then added softly, "Should we keep going?" Her face turned even redder, like a ripe apple. She didn't say a word, she didn't pull away, either. Instead, she gently closed her eyes. I watched her trembling eyelashes, felt the softness of her body so close to mine. And finally, unable to hold back any longer, I lowered my head and kissed her. Her lips were soft and sweet. She froze for a moment, then kissed me back. We wrapped our arms around each other tightly, as if we wanted to pull the other person into our very soul. In the living room, Tom and Jerry was still playing. Tom was still chasing Jerry, Jerry was still outsmarting Tom. But neither of us was paying attention anymore. Meanwhile, at the hospital, Helen was asking the doctor about Mario's condition. The surgery had been successful. He was no longer in danger. All he needed now was someone to stay with him and keep an eye on him. After thanking the doctor, Helen realized she hadn't been home in several days. Mario had just come out of surgery, and she felt she needed to go back and explain things to her husband. She had only stayed to take care of him because he had no one else to rely on. She couldn't let her husband misunderstand the situation again. After arranging for a caregiver and making sure everything was taken care of, she prepared to leave. Mario tried to persuade her to stay a few more days. She politely declined. On the drive home, she rehearsed what she was going to say. When she arrived at the front door, she took a deep breath to steady her emotions and opened it. Helen stood in the doorway. In her hand was a box of osmanthus cakes, my favorite. A tired smile rested on her face. "Honey, I'm home. Look what I brought you." Before she could finish her sentence, she saw Nina and me in the living room. The smile froze on her face instantly. The box slipped from her hand, the pastries hit the floor and shattered into pieces. What are you doing?" Her voice trembled, her eyes widened in disbelief. Nina was so startled that she immediately hid behind me. I stepped in front of her protectively and looked at Helen. "Why are you back? What are you two doing?" Helen screamed hysterically, pointing at Nina. She shouted, "Nina, you're my best friend. How could you sneak around behind my back and get involved with my husband?" "Helen, listen to me." Nina spoke softly. "Explain what?" I saw it with my own eyes. Helen was on the verge of losing control. "You're mistaken," I said calmly. Nina choked on some food a moment ago. I was helping her with the Heimlich maneuver. The Heimlich maneuver? Helen looked as though she had just heard the most ridiculous joke in the world. She pointed at the two of us and screamed, "This is the first damn time in my life I've ever seen someone perform the Heimlich maneuver completely naked. Since you've already made up your mind, there's no point trying to explain it." I straightened my clothes. "If you can't accept it, then let's get divorced." "Divorce?" Helen froze for a moment, then she suddenly snapped and lunged toward Nina. "It's all your fault, you shameless homewrecker. You seduced my husband. I'll kill you." "Stop." I grabbed her arm and shoved her aside. "Oscar, you're actually protecting her?" Helen stared at me as tears streamed down her face. "Have you forgotten how you proposed to me? You said you'd love me for the rest of your life. You said you'd always protect me. Were all those promises nothing but lies?" "Well, someone else confessed to you afterward, didn't they?" I shrugged. "So I'm stepping aside." "That's nonsense!" she cried hysterically. "Is this all because of Mario? Fine, I'll cut off all contact with him right now. From now on, I'll stay home every day and wait for you to come back. I'll cook for you. I'll do your laundry. I'll do whatever you want, okay?" Too late. I gently pushed her away and glanced at Nina. "Helen, do you honestly think there's any going back from this?" No! She shouted. I refuse to get divorced. As long as I don't sign the papers, you can forget about it. If I have to drag this out forever, then I will. Suit yourself. My tone remained calm. It doesn't matter whether you agree or not, I'll file for divorce through the courts. At most, it'll take 6 months before the judge grants it. Nina! Helen turned toward her, her eyes filled with hatred. You bitch, I won't let you get away with this. You're going too far. Nina stepped out from behind me and looked directly at Helen. I admit it, I came into his life when he was lonely and heartbroken. But you're the one who gave me that opportunity. On his birthday, you were at a concert with another man. That same man confessed his feelings for you in front of everyone. Maybe you didn't know what he wanted before, but once you did, you still went to the hospital to take care of him. You keep insisting nothing happened between you two, but the way you acted gave him hope. Stop pretending you're completely innocent. My marriage is none of your business. Helen screamed, refusing to let her continue. Why isn't it my business? Nina shot back. Oscar loves me now, and the person he'll be with in the future is me. As for you, you had a husband, yet you kept getting emotionally involved with another man. You never respected any boundaries. If Oscar is divorcing you, it's because of your own choices. You brought this on yourself. You dare say I deserve this? Helen trembled with rage and charged toward Nina again. I stepped in front of her once more. Enough! My voice turned cold. Haven't you made enough of a scene already? If you're done, then leave. I'm not leaving! She shouted. This is my home. No, I looked at her steadily. This isn't your home. I bought this house before we got married. It has nothing to do with you. If you don't leave right now, I'll call the police. Helen stared at me, despair filled her eyes. She knew me well. When I said something, I meant it. Slowly, she got to her feet. She looked at me, then at Nina, and suddenly she laughed, a hollow, heartbreaking laugh. Fine, she nodded. I'll go. Oscar, Nina, you'll regret this. With that, she turned and ran out the door. The front door slammed shut behind her. Silence returned to the living room. Nina leaned against my chest and whispered softly, Oscar, I'm sorry, this is all my fault. It has nothing to do with you. I gently patted her back. This is between Helen and me. None of this is your responsibility. But? No buts, I cut her off. We were always going to end up here sooner or later. As expected, Helen refused to sign the divorce papers. Instead, she began relentlessly harassing us. She sent me countless messages. She waited outside my office building, blocking my path and begging me to go back with her. She even told me she had decorated the new house exactly the way I liked it. I hired the best lawyer I could find and filed for divorce in court. My lawyer told me that since we had already been living separately, there was a very good chance the court would grant the divorce. The hearing was scheduled for about 3 months later. During that time, I heard some news about Mario. Although his leg had healed, it left lasting complications. He walked with a noticeable limp. And because his reputation had been completely ruined, no company was willing to hire him. He could no longer stay in this city and had no choice but to return to his hometown in disgrace. I heard that after he went back, he spent every day drinking at home. His temper became increasingly violent, and he would lash out at his parents over the smallest things. The people in the village looked down on him, calling him an ungrateful parasite who had bitten the hand that fed him. It was the consequence of his own actions. If he had been content with his own life and hadn't tried to destroy someone else's family, he would never have ended up like this. 3 months later, the court hearing finally arrived, and Helen still showed up. She looked much more haggard than before, thin, exhausted, and completely devoid of any spark in her eyes. In the courtroom, she didn't make a scene this time. She simply sat there quietly, tears streaming down her face. The judge attempted mediation, but I remained firm and insisted on getting divorced. In the end, the court granted our divorce. A year later, Nina and I held our wedding. Helen came as well. She personally handed Nina a generous cash gift, which caught Nina completely by surprise. The two of them hadn't been in contact for over a year. I'm really glad you came, Nina said. You're celebrating too soon. Helen's smile never wavered. She looked just like the close friend she used to be. What do you mean? Nina looked puzzled. Hadn't Helen come here to offer her congratulations? You still don't understand the situation. The tables have turned now. You'd better keep a close eye on your husband. She paused, then smiled. Let's see how I take him away from you, just like you took my husband from me. Nina smiled as well. I won't deny that you're capable, you're beautiful, and you understand him very well. But I won't give you that chance. Then we'll see about that. Fine, we'll see about that.